we ready for reading?
Yeah.
Good. Who can tell me what we were learning about yesterday? Whisper it to your friend next to you.
I don't know.
If you don't know, listen to a friend. See if they can tell you.
Why was it here yesterday?
Okay, sit down and talk about it. Hey, Daphne, tell Riker what we were learning. Fairy tales. Everyone say that.
Fairy tales.
Okay, we watched a video yesterday, a read aloud book called The Poisoned Apple. Remember? Okay, whisper to your friend who you think that book was similar to. What fairy tale it was similar to. Oh, I hear lots of answers. Okay. McKenna, who was it about? Snow White. Okay.
What about Red Riding Hood?
We're not talking about Red Riding Hood, are we? Who are we talking about, guys?
Snow
White and the
Poisoned Apple.
Okay, remember that. That's what we're learning about. And Snow White is a fairy tale. So, remember how we talked about 3 elements of a fairy tale? Remember those elements? So whisper to your friend if you can remember 3 of them. Whisper to your friend. About what those 3 elements are. Remember one. Okay, Reiko, what's one? Good versus evil. He got one right. What's another one?
Royalty.
Royalty. What's royalty again?
Something like fancy, like this is a fancy one. She's a princess.
Princess.
Magic. Lessons.
Lessons.
There's
Raise
magic.
your hand, Gavin.
Magic.
Like good versus evil.
Good versus evil. Bentley.
Sometimes talking animals.
Sometimes talking animals.
Magic.
Magic. Do you have any others? Sometimes they start with once upon a time.
Or the cover could be Once Upon a Time because
Yeah, I know
they
one
show
more.
Colin upon a
That's true. And that's about fairy tales.
Sometimes, not all of it. Then like one who was guilt, skeleton, not Snow White. Oh yeah, Snow White. I know what's in the one.
They're all
Yeah,
fairy tales. Okay.
I've seen it Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, good
I
job
haven't seen
thinking
all
on
of
that.
them, so if I
Quentin.
can remember it, I got or
Numbers 3 or 7.
But then they use
Okay,
magic.
guys, look up here
What's
now.
magic?
We're going to talk about fractured fairy tales. What do you think fractured might mean? Diana, you think you might know what fractured means? When you fracture your arm, it might hurt. What do you think?
It's like kind of like making a change.
Making a change. When you break your arm, it's not the same.
This has fractured in it. She fell off the tree and got hurt.
What do you think fractured means?
Maybe like not real.
Not real. Well, this is what it says. Fractured fairy tales involve the author making a change or character setting or major events. The purpose of the change is usually to add humor. How many of you thought The Poisoned Apple was kind of funny? Some of you thought it was funny?
Like when the witch was over.
So that's what they do with fractured fairy tales. They try and make it sillier, okay?
And scary.
Well, I thought today that we could compare and contrast the real Snow White to the Poisoned Apple. So while I'm telling the story, I want you guys to be thinking, how does Snow White, the real Snow White story, compare to the Poisoned Apple story? All right? Okay? Now I'm probably not going to...
She gets the poison apple.
Not yet. Keep thinking in your mind. while I'm reading. Now, I'm not going to read every word because we want to get through this quickly, okay?
Why
And
can't
I
we just play
think
it?
most of you know the story of Snow White. So I'm just going to
I
go
know it all.
quickly. Shh. Okay, now I'm going to start, okay?
Okay.
So Snow White, she was born to a king and queen. And when she was a baby, her mother died. And her father, the king, married another woman. Well, this other woman, the new queen, was super jealous of her. Because Snow White was the fairest, beautiful lady in all the land. She had fair white skin, red lips, and beautiful black hair.
That's right.
And the queen was super jealous, okay? Here she is. She's very vain, and she wanted to be the most beautiful in all the kingdom. But what told her that she was not?
The magic mirror.
The magic mirror. So there's our magic, right? There's our magic. We have our royalty. So the magic mirror, you can say it with me. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And what does the mirror say? Snow White. And she didn't like that, did she? No, she did not like that. And Snow White was just very kind and pretty and nice. And she was nice to all the animals and people in the kingdom. And this just infuriated the queen. And so she went to her huntsman. He's the one that goes out and kills the deer and brings in the food for the kingdom. And she told him, I want you to take her far away, and I want you to kill her. All right? Well, he was very sad about this because he thought Snow White was just a lovely person. And so he didn't want to kill her. Yes?
It has good versus evil in it.
Good versus evil. Good job, Caleb. So instead of killing her, he decided to bring back the heart of a pig. And he left her in the woods. And he said, don't ever come back because the queen wants you to be dead. Okay? Well, she was a little scared about that, wasn't she? And so she started wandering through the woods, and the woods is scary. We don't like to be by ourselves, right? And all the scary things were happening. But then she saw the animals, and she decided, it was okay. The animals are good to me, right?
Yeah.
We're going to skip all this part. And then she saw a little cottage, didn't she? We know who lived there. The 7 dwarfs. And she was told by the 7 dwarfs that if she lived in the house and cooked and cleaned, that they would protect her, right? And she would be safe in the woods. And so do you think she appreciated this? Yeah, because now she had somewhere to live. And where did they work?
In the
Mines. They worked hard, didn't they? And so she helped take care of them, didn't she? There they are, going to work.
Who's the guy? Oh.
And you know what? They had advice for her. Does anybody remember what some advice was the dwarfs told her? What's one? Yeah, because what could come to the door?
Maybe the queen can come.
Yeah, maybe a stranger could come to the door. And they said, don't what? Don't ever open the door to who? A stranger. So that was their advice, wasn't it? All right. All right, let's skip through this. Okay, well, guess what happened?
What?
So the queen went back to the mirror, and she said, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And what did the mirror say?
Snow White.
Oh, was Snow White dead?
No.
So she was angry again, wasn't she? She knew that heart wasn't Snow White's heart. So now she's going to do what?
Make a poison apple.
Make the poison apple. for the intent of casting a spell. And then what did she change herself into? An old witch. And so does this kind of remind you of our poisoned apple book?
Wait,
Mm-hmm.
look at the poison apple.
Yeah.
Look, I can see the witch.
Okay, so it's all making sense, how they're similar, right? Okay, well, they went to work, and the witch came with the apples out to the woods. She said goodbye to the dwarfs. She was cleaning, doing her work. The witch came to the door. Did she talk to the witch?
No.
Look at her, is she talking to the witch? Yeah. What's the witch giving her?
A poison apple.
An apple. Oh, the animals are concerned. They ran to tell the dwarfs. But what did Snow White do?
Take a bite.
She took a bite, didn't she? Okay, so now we know that she took a bite. It was too late by the time they got back, right? And poor Snow White had fallen to the ground. So they put her in a special place to keep her safe, right? And so while she was there, who came to see her? The prince. And he wanted to take her away, didn't he? And so what woke her up? A kiss. And they lived happily ever after, right? Okay, so now we're going to watch The Poisoned Apple, and I want you guys to compare the stories, okay? Right.
Look at the witch.
Okay.
I know the orange.
Okay.
I just got a whole basket for that.
Quiet now, listen.
I can't hear it.
Try it again. See if it'll work.
Estimated princess. This particular princess was getting a little too sweet for her own good, and any decent witch knows just how to deal with a princess like that. A poisoned apple. For months and months, the witch had worked tirelessly to collect countless rare ingredients. She had only enough for a single apple poisoning spell, so everything would have to go exactly according to plan. First, she mixed the ingredients in her cauldron. Next, she carefully dipped the apple into the bubbling brew. It began to transform. The spell had worked. Her secret weapon now complete. The witch waited for the princess to pass through the woods and gave her the poisoned apple. The witch's plot was in motion. Now she'd get to watch from the woods as the princess took her final bite. The princess had been on her way to the dwarf's diamond mine to bring them lunch. The witch watched impatiently as the princess handed out provisions to the hungry men. To the sixth dwarf, she gave the poisoned apple. After polishing off most of his other food, the sixth dwarf started to take a bite. When he was interrupted by a couple of hungry forest animals. Since he was already pretty full, he supposed he could share. So he gave them the poisoned apple. Happily, the animals leaned in to take a bite. When they were startled by a foraging squirrel desperate for something to feed her babies.
Oh, imagine.
Their hearts went out to the hungry little ones, so they gave her the poisoned apple. The witch couldn't let the apple get away. She hadn't put all that work in for nothing.
Yeah.
She had no choice but to climb right up that tree after the squirrel. She had only a little farther to go when suddenly, crack! Down, down, down the witch fell. When she came to, she couldn't remember who she was, where she was, or what she'd been doing. The squirrel was concerned and gave her a tasty-looking apple.
That's a daddy long
It seemed strangely familiar. But the witch was hungry,
Not a daddy
and so, having unwittingly escaped the witch's scheme, everyone in the forest lived happily ever after. Well, almost everyone.
That's the part that made me laugh.
Okay. Okay, we're just gonna ask a few questions here. Ready? Boys, turn around. It's just a little tiny spider. It's not gonna hurt you. Throw it in garbage or put it outside.
Okay.
Put it outside the door or something. Okay.
I'm
What
afraid
is
of a daddy
the plot
long
twist in this fairy tale compared to Snow White? Whisper it to a friend. Whisper to a friend. What do you think was the plot twist? What was different?
I don't know, I wasn't curious
Okay, who wants to share their ideas about the plot twist? Henry. Henry's gonna tell us. Okay, hold on. Boys, Coleman. Coleman, somebody's talking. Go ahead, Henry.
Ended up at the witch's tree.
Okay, instead of her eating it, the witch ate it. Okay, now make this connection. Think about when the witch gave her the apple. When she went to go see the dwarfs, what was she bringing the dwarfs? Food, right? So she was what? What was she doing?
Eating the door.
She was handing out food.
And
And so what'd she do with the apple?
the sixth door got the apple.
Yeah, so she gave it away because she was being what? Nice, right?
There's
Well,
one grumpy on Snow White.
When the dwarf had the apple and he was about to take a bite, what did he see next?
The animals.
The animals were hungry. And so he gave it to the animals. And then what did the animals see? The babies were hungry. And so then they felt bad. And so they gave the apple away. So what is this representing when we're sharing things? How are we acting?
So we're at time.
Kind,
Nine.
nice. Are we being selfish or unselfish?
Unselfish.
Yeah, so be thinking in your mind how you share your things with your friends, right? Be thinking about that, how you can be kind, right? All right. So tell me one more altered element that happened besides the witch dying. What else happened that was a little different? Does anybody know, Bentley?
Instead, so in Snow White, when the squirrels were on the branch, it didn't crack. but in the show, the thing cracked.
Okay, so when we're thinking about comparing the story, we can think about different things, right? We can think about how the animals weren't selfish, how they shared. They didn't really talk about that in the other book, did it? About the animals sharing. So here they're talking about sharing. We can compare that the witch died instead of Snow White dying, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you one of these papers to do, and you're going to write down an original thing that happened in Snow White and compare it to what happened in the poisoned apple. So you're comparing how it's different, how they changed it. Okay, just like what we talked about, how there were changes, right? Okay, let's go over a couple of our vocabulary words, okay? In the book, they use the word detest. So detest means to have a strong dislike for or hate. So who detested Snow White? The witch. Tireless. Tireless means having great energy, not easily tired. So tireless means you're not tired. You just keep going and going and going, okay? All right. And we went over fractured fairy tales. That means they make changes for it to be a little funnier. So you could think about, well, it was kind of funny that the witch died, huh?
That was
Instead
weird.
of Snow White dying. All right, now, the next thing we're going to go over is our verbs. Okay, we talked about yesterday, we talked about future tense verbs, and today we're going to talk about present tense verbs. So let's see if you guys can whisper to a friend a future tense sentence. I'll give you an example. I will eat my pumpkin pie tomorrow. Now you whisper to a friend what you want to say about a future tense verb. Okay, Riker, tell us a future tense verb sentence.
Be like just like a bird.
Say it again.
Can it be just a bird?
So you're going to say in the future. So I will. You tell me what you're going to do.
I will jump in a pile of leaves.
I will jump in a pile of leaves. Good job, guys. Okay, now let's go over present tense verbs. Okay, now present tense means that we're doing it right now. It's happening right this minute, okay? So what is happening? So the example is, Taylor makes a caramel apple. Say that.
Taylor makes a caramel apple.
Whisper to a friend an example of an action that's happening right now.
I will play on the top of my treehouse. I will run on the top of my treehouse.
Okay, Nora's going to give us an example. Everyone listen. Coleman. Nora's going to give us an example.
As hard as I can.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Boys, at school, I am having fun with my friends. Is that happening right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so our assignment today is on this paper. I'm going to have sentences around the room. I'll have them all laid out. And they're a sentence, and you're supposed to choose, is it a present verb that goes on the line, or is it a future verb that goes on the line? Okay?
So it can be an original verb, like what's happening right now.
Yep, so
or it
here's
can be
an
a future
example.
verb.
It says next week, Val blank her book. So you would pick, is it will return or return? Okay? So this is what we're gonna do for our verb activity today. So you can get clipboards and a pencil, and I'll lay these out around the room, and you can do it with a partner or you can do it by yourself. And you can do that. Is there any questions about what a future verb or a present verb is?
Let's go grab Cooker.
Okay.
My partner. Get up. What? Oh, what? Go get a clipboard, pencil, and paper. Ow!
Get a clipboard and go
Gavin!